Thank you for tuning in to Kendell Lenice Live right here on YouTube. This is a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and I'm so glad that I have an opportunity to speak to my guest today. She is from the UK. We are going to be talking about menopause, and my guest is Nancy Wilson. Not that Nancy Wilson, but another Nancy Wilson. The funny thing is she was named after the legendary jazz singer Nancy Wilson. So I'm so excited to speak with her today regarding this matter. As you know, my channel is all about education, elevation, and entertainment. So hopefully we can do just that, even on a subject like menopause. So I want to welcome Nancy Wilson to Kendell Lenice Live. Thank you so much, Nancy.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So what is the time difference from the US East Coast to the UK, just for the people that don't know?
It is, I can't see the time. It's after 6 in the evening now.
So it's about 5 hours different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, I thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. And I want to read the exact definition because I know what it is. It's when the estrogen depletes in a woman's body once she reaches her 40s and 50s. So I'm just going to read the textbook definition of menopause. The ovaries also make the hormones estrogen and the progesterone, which control her period. And the release of the eggs, which is ovulation. Menopause happens when the ovaries no longer release an egg every month and the menstruation stops. But some women can go through early menopause, whether it's surgery, whether it's hereditary, depending on when their mother had their first period, and then when they started menopause, it is hereditary also. Let's talk about just menopause in your experience, because I can talk about some of the things that I've been going through, but this is not about me. I really wanted to get the word out about menopause. And when I'm talking about getting the word out, so many people say, well, people know what menopause is, but a lot of women are ashamed and embarrassed, and that means they're getting a certain age and they don't know how to handle it. But let's talk about menopause and the experience that you have with menopause.
Okay. I am 52 at the moment, 53 in July. And I think the symptoms started probably about 2.5 years ago. I haven't had a period now for about a year. But when I spoke about it with my doctor, she said that until I don't have a period at all for 2 years, I'm not classed as having actually gone through it. So medically, I'm still in menopause, even though I'm not having periods.
Okay, so medically you're in menopause. What made you go to the doctor, and how did you discover that you were medically going through menopause?
I went to the doctor because my periods became extremely heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, I would last 2 hours maximum before I needed to change my sanitary wear. And, 24 hours in a day, you're talking changing probably 12 to 15 times. And that was a lot. So I went to the doctors just for a chat, really. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew that I needed to talk about it and find out a bit more. And I was offered HRT, which I turned down. I didn't want to do anything chemically.
Mm-hmm.
So I then asked, what's my alternative? If I don't want to do it with chemicals, what is my alternative? And that particular doctor didn't seem to know a lot about menopause herself. And she did admit that to me. And she said that she would search for some information and then send it on to me. And to be honest, I was kind of taken aback because she didn't know herself. And I expected her to have all the answers as my doctor.
Right.
But at the same time, I was very happy that she was upfront and told me that she didn't know what I expected her to know, to save us being sat there while she searched on her database. Because sometimes when you go and they're trying to prescribe a medicine, you can see them searching through the doctor database to look for the right thing to give to you. And I didn't want to go through that process and sort of have things done on trial and error. But what I did do was I decided to try and look at how I look after myself, mainly
Mhm.
through diet. And I do a lot more cooking from scratch.
Yeah.
I've nearly always cooked from scratch, but there'll be days when I'm thinking, oh, I can't be bothered today. And I wouldn't, and I just have a takeaway or get something out of the freezer that's not really good for you, but doesn't require cooking, just throw it in the oven. But I'm eating a lot more fruit and vegetables. And I'm looking at what the actual, each different food does for your system. And that seems to be working because I don't really have symptoms now. I don't really have the hot flashes. As I said, my periods have stopped, but they did get slightly lighter before they stopped. I'm putting it down to diet, but I don't know if that's the only reason or if I was tailing off anyway.
So with you, it started happening naturally. It was a natural progression
Yeah.
as you begin to reach your 50s. Are you aware of when your mom started her period and when she started going through menopause?
I don't know when she started, but her menopause was a bit later than mine. It was probably late 50s, early 60s.
Mm.
I remember seeing her coming home from work and she'd be throwing clothes off, and it was just before she retired. I remember it being quite close to her retirement age.
Yeah. And it's so funny because when people talk about menopause and think about menopause, the first thing they think of is hot flashes. Oh, you must be going through menopause, or you're moody, you must be going through menopause. And I think it's also thrown around like people do when you have your monthly period. Oh, well, she must be on her period. Or she,
Mm.
and I think that that's so unfair, as if women can't have emotions any other time other than when it's that time of the month or when they're going through menopause. Can you give me your take on that?
I think I was one of the most moody people in the world during my period.
So you
To be
look, so
honest,
you
it's
a part of
strange
that.
because I was actually on the pill at one stage, and when I was on the pill, my periods were very light.
What
Um,
I
they were
want
about
to be
3, maybe
clear.
4 days maximum, and I didn't really seem to have symptoms as such. You know, the oh, it must be your time of month type
Hmm.
signals coming off.
Hmm.
But then when I came off the pill, the first thing that happened was I actually started gaining weight, and then
Mm.
my periods over time started to get
Hmm.
heavier. Yeah,
Hmm.
the weight gain, it's, for me, that's the worst part of it because
Oh,
I'm
hello.
slightly
Hello.
asthmatic,
Yeah.
and when my weight goes up, my asthma gets worse. So I
Mm.
have to work hard on my weight to keep my health in check. So when I do try to lose weight and I start eating better and working out, it's not really for vanity. It's because I can feel my chest. I know when I'm wheezing, I'm too heavy.
Wow. And I thank you for sharing that. Um, I don't want you to be alone. So I've never shared what I'm going through publicly, but people know it, and I talk about it and I post about it, but I've never shared my personal experience. So for years, I suffered bad fibroids, like, I mean, horrible, like you're saying, like to the
Mm.
point where I don't even want to get graphic, but it was horrible, horrible periods due to fibroids. And my fibroids were this big. I had several in my stomach, to the point where people would ask me, was I pregnant? You know, to the point my stomach was that large. And of course that hurts. That hurts your feelings. And in 2010, I had a procedure where they shrunk. They cut off the blood supply. It was called UFE, and my fibroids began to shrink. But they said in 5 or 8 years, or even before, sooner, that they may grow back and reattach themselves. Now, fibroids, for people who don't know, they're non-cancerous tumors, but they really take over your body. I mean, to the point where they're very selfish. They will grow in your uterus, outside your uterus, and beyond. And mine were inside my uterus and outside of my uterus. So at that point, they shrunk. And then fast forward to 2018, they had grown back and took vengeance. They were really, 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 really big, to the point where I went to my gynecologist and my family practitioner, who I've been going to for 20 years, and my gynecologist for probably 8 or 9 years. And they were like, they need to come out ASAP because this is just ridiculous. I was gaining weight. They were taking over my uterus. And this sounds so crazy, but well, let me save that. But anyway, my uterus, the normal size uterus, it tripled and quadrupled. My uterus was humongous because I had all of them living in there. And they feed off the blood supply. So it really is about how you eat and all of that. And I had stopped, I've given up red meat. I haven't eaten red meat in 1,000 years. I don't eat meat now other than seafood as a pescatarian. But to speed up the story, so they said I needed surgery immediately. So in 2010, I was trying to avoid that by getting the UFE. Long story short, I got a partial hysterectomy in 2018. My surgery was supposed to be 2 hours. It ended up being 4 hours. That's how large they were. My doctor, it was on Instagram. Of course, people didn't know it was me, but just the medical process, excuse me, and the surgery, she put them on there. And mine, it was this big. And that was just the main one. It was huge, Nancy. And then it had other fibroids around it, but they were so bad that one of my fallopian tubes got stuck and it was surged on there. It fused on there. So it was just a mess. And I had that surgery. How old was I? I'll be 47. I was 47 years old. So that's what happened to me. And I started to notice after the surgery, I was getting these hot flashes that I never had before. And then for 3 weeks straight, I was so hot at night. And that's when I was getting in those night sweats. And that's one of the symptoms. And I was so hot at night. And I was like, what's going on? I had just gotten married. You know, the fan was on, the windows were open. So, you know about that life. And I was so hot. And I said, okay. And my mom has been telling me, okay, because I had to get ready. You're going to have it. And I was like, stop putting that on me. I don't have it just yet. You know? She wanted to give it to me so badly. And fast forward again. Now it is 2020. I went to the doctor this year. And for the first time ever with my blood work, my estrogen was low. And she said, all right, you already know what that is. And I saw the signs coming up. So for a woman, I didn't, you know how some women, like I said in the beginning, some women are upset. They feel old. They feel like they can't have children anymore. Well, I wasn't trying to have children, but I guess just the choice and the idea of it. Can you talk about that? So with your womanly parts and you changing as a woman, what does that do to you emotionally? How does that make you feel? Or if it makes you feel any different?
I don't think I feel very different. I know that my baby days are over anyway, because I'm not trying to have more children. But that part, it kind of slightly saddens you because you can't.
Yes.
Even though I don't want to.
Right.
I don't mind that, but it's hard to describe.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's just the emotional thought of somebody taking that right away, or something is taking that right from you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I have 2 children. They're 16 and 17, almost 18. And if I'd had my eldest maybe 2 years earlier, I would have probably had more children. But because I had him just before I was 40, 2 was enough. You know, I just wanted my eldest child to have a sibling. We've done that now, and I'm happy with 2 children. but knowing that I can't have any more, there's a little piece of you that's sad about it, even though you
Right.
don't want any more children.
Right. I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. But I don't particularly feel any less feminine or any less womanly.
Yeah.
That might just be my way of dealing with it, because I know some women do, and they have a bit of a midlife crisis and, you know, sometimes go a little bit bananas about it. But I've kind of taken it all in my stride. And I think it's partly because I had my children late. So I
Yeah.
knew that when I had my children, I knew there were no more coming behind them anyway. So I've probably taken it a little bit easier because of that.
Yeah. I get it. So I
Yeah.
just want to talk about some of the symptoms, and you can tell me if you've had any thus far, and we can talk about that. So pain, circulation, issues with sexual intercourse, fatigue, night sweats, osteoporosis, hot flashes or sweating, early awakening or insomnia, absence of period or irregular period. These are some of the signs. Hair dryness or loss of scalp hair, also common in menopause, anxiety, dry skin, irritability, moodiness, reduction of sex drive, and vaginal dryness. And of course, we talked about the weight gain. So I've experienced the weight gain. After I
Yeah.
had my surgery, my stomach went down beautifully back because I never had a stomach until fibroids. And then once they were taken, I had the hysterectomy, my stomach went back down. But then I started the menopause process and my weight went back up. I'm like,
Yeah.
good grief. That's the part. And then the thinning of my hair. My hair, I have noticed my hair thinning. Some might say moodiness, like you said. But
Yeah.
can you talk about some of your symptoms? Because I really want to focus on you. But I didn't just want you to tell your story and I sit here tight-lipped like I'm not experiencing that. That's
Yeah.
not how I want this to go. Okay.
My hair texture has changed. My hair
Yeah.
has always been fine. I've had
Mm-hmm.
fine hair, but a lot of it, and it was quite coily. And now it's more. I mean, I have locks, so it's not as noticeable. But when my roots need redoing, I can see my hair is very wavy, and it
Mm-hmm.
actually, the texture of it feels like relaxed hair, but it's my natural hair.
Yeah,
Changed from
because I think it's
very,
thinning
very silky.
out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't think
Night
I don't
sweats.
really have many symptoms. No, not really.
Do you feel yourself, your emotions are all over the place? Do you feel, I know you talked about moodiness, any dry skin, dry scalp?
My scalp's slightly drier, I would say, but that's partly down to me being a bit lazy as well. I don't oil it as much as I should do. But my hair itself, my hair is very, very healthy,
Hmm.
which was a bit of a shock because I expected it to dry out and
Yeah.
start giving me problems, but it hasn't. But as I said, my scalp is a little drier. Um, my skin hasn't changed much. Um, I did have hot flashes at the beginning,
Hmm.
and it's strange because I am with a company called Salad Master, and we do in-house presentations, and part of the presentation involves cooking. So
Hmm.
I'm cooking. The kitchen doesn't get hot because of the systems that we use. There's no heat transmitted from the cookware, but I'm standing there covered in sweat, and I would say to the family, "Oh, you just have to excuse me. I'm having my own personal summer. I'll be back with you shortly."
Right.
You know, and I got around it that way. But the personal summer I got from my sister. She says she has her personal summer year round because she's going
Right.
through menopause. She's actually still in it, and she's
How
used
old is she?
how old am I? 52. She'll be 56
Okay.
in August, and she's still going through it. And we often meet at my mum's house, and she'll walk in winter, she'll walk in with a big coat on. She takes the coat off and she's semi-naked underneath. because she's that hot. She'll just have, you know, a
Right.
little vest with the spaghetti straps and a pair of jeans on underneath. And she'll throw the coat off and the fan will come out. She'll start fanning herself. And she's like, oh, I'm so glad to get here. It's hot. And we're like, but it's like 2 degrees outside. No, I'm hot. I'm having my personal summer, remember? You know,
See,
so we
serious.
laugh and joke about it between us, especially when myself, my sister and my mum are together. We often trade stories and laugh at each other. Because I think sometimes if you don't laugh, you actually will cry.
It's so funny because I remember giving my mom a book about menopause when I was in my 30s, and I thought I was doing something because, of course, that was before you can just voila, you know, look it up or
Yeah,
Google it, look it up
yeah.
online. And I gave her this book, and I thought I was doing something as a daughter because of what she was going through. So I think my mom has had a secret vendetta saying, okay, it's going to be you. And, you know, I was like, she was giving it to me before I had it. But it's so interesting because although I'm younger than you, I'm experiencing it more than you because of the
Yeah,
hysterectomy. So even a partial hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy, it pushes you slowly into menopause. Some people, it pushes you right away. And some, you know, it takes a moment to do that. And you'll see some of the symptoms. Now, everybody, of course, doesn't have every symptom that they have listed.
yeah, yeah.
But and some people do, you know. And I was trying to avoid, just imagine if I gotten this surgery in my 30s, like I couldn't imagine. But some women do, due to endometriosis or fibroids, and most fibroids start in your 30s. That's when they say, and it also is hereditary in some of the things that you may eat. It's dietary. Can you talk about your diet and how that has added to it or taken away from some of your symptoms?
I try to eat as much fresh fruit and vegetables as possible. I do cook them in a slightly different way because of the cookware that I use, but I'm not here to advertise, so I won't really go into that. But because of the cookware that I use, the food keeps its nutritional value. On average, it's 93% of the vitamins and minerals in the food are kept even through the cooking process.
Are you talking about like a copperware or something?
It's cookware called Salad Master.
Okay.
And you can cook vegetables with no water. So because there's no water in the vegetables, it's not taking the vitamins and the minerals away. So you lose very few of them. And I really do think that that's what has helped me because, as I said, my sister is still going through it. She started before me. She's still going through it.
Wow.
She doesn't use the same cookware as I do. So I put it down to a combination of the eating a balanced diet and the actual cookware that I'm cooking in.
And I know you were talking about working for them. So that was a blessing also that you found out about them, and that kind of stopped some of your symptoms from taking hold. So I know about, I used to hear people talk about personal summers and all of that. So I do know about that. I remember my daughter's got me a fan that can hook on your cell phone, and they already know, like, these folks in here in my home are freezing half the time. And I'm like, what? Look, I got a little fan right there.
It's funny because when my friends go on holiday, they always bring back a fan for me. Sorry, 1 second.
Let me tell you something about this fan. That was the best $5. I used to have one of those too, and mine. Look, I used it so much it broke. I gotta get another one. But let me tell you, that was the best $5.97 I ever spent. Yeah, and it's not. Right, and I want to be clear. It's not something that is continuous, like you're walking around naked and it's hot flashes and night sweats. And I notice just as you get older, there are a lot of things that happen with your body as women anyway. I don't want to intrude, but is your sexual appetite still the same? Because that is one of the symptoms.
I'm sorry, I'm getting another interruption. Excuse me. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm single at the moment, so I'm not sexually active right now, but the drive hasn't really gone.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just know how to deal with it because I'm single. But I think if I wasn't single, I would probably be a bit busy right now during quarantine.
That's what everybody say. Well, we know that we can't get pregnant during quarantine. We know that for
There
sure.
you go.
Right, right. So it's not, yeah, and I don't, and mine hasn't changed either. And there are other different things that happen vaginally as well that I talk to people about. But I laugh because some people have told me it made them moody, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you were already moody before this. But if you want to blame that on menopause, so I just want to read something again. And you talked about your sister and you talked about you. So the symptoms may continue for an average of 4 to 5 years, but they decrease in frequency and intensity. Some women report their symptoms last longer. The most common symptoms include, as we keep talking about, hot flashes. Why do you think that that's the description of menopause? When people think about menopause, why do you think they just talk about that symptom? As we talked about, there are so many other symptoms.
Yeah, maybe that's the most common symptom when they've looked at women over years. I don't know. But my flashes were really strange. I got very, very hot to the point where sweat would be pouring down my face and then it would stop. My body didn't feel hot, just my face. And it was as if, you know, when you walk into a steam room or a sauna and you just get wet. My face was like that. And then as suddenly as it started, it would stop. And that
Wow.
was about the biggest, apart from the very heavy periods, that's probably the biggest other symptom that I had. And that lasted not very long, actually, probably the whole of the summer for the year that I got it, probably the year before last, I think it was, for the summer. And then it seemed to taper off. And now occasionally I get like a warm feeling, but it's not the same kind of flash that I had where I would actually physically sweat, because I don't
Yeah.
really sweat on my face. Even when I'm working out, sweat doesn't really pour off my face, which is why that was so shocking for me.
Yeah, I get it. And that's the same with me. I don't sweat like visibly. You wouldn't see me sweat. Never let them see you sweat. Remember that commercial back in the day? But I don't physically sweat, but I just feel a warm sensation. Like you said,
Yeah.
I feel just, it's just like just warm. Like I can feel it sometimes in the back of my neck. I feel it on my face. It's almost like a flustered feeling. Like you just feel flustered. And at night, I may, sweat a little bit. Just that whole, I don't know. It's a different feeling, and with the night sweats. And but I do keep the door open. I have a patio door. I keep that open most of the time. I have a fan in the bedroom just in case, like almost like a fire extinguisher in case of emergency. Break glass. That's what I have. But my main thing really, like you were talking about your hair, I see, different thinning situations going on in my hair. And the weight gain is really the thing. And I've talked about, other people have talked to me about their menopause symptoms. And we're going to have like maybe once this all quarantine stops, we're going to have really a forum, even in person, and I may do something else virtually, to talk about really what's going on with women and emotionally with this, because so many women talk about it. I remember I put something on Facebook. I said, how many women are going through this? Inbox me. And those women were like, I don't have to inbox you. I'm telling you right here, right on this platform. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. I'm going through this. And I just want to eradicate the stigma of you're old or you can't, because that really is a thing. And then with men really understanding what women are going through during this time. Of course, they don't experience that, and they might not have been around when their mother was experiencing that. But I don't know. Did you used to watch the Cosby Show back in the day?
I did, yes.
Do you remember when Claire was going through menopause and they were trying to make it seem like she was cuckoo? Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's really it. I want to kind of change that face. Of course, they did it humorously, and I want to bring humor to it also. I want to talk about the hot flashes because I want to talk about what combats the hot flashes, since that's the experience that you have. And I know some of them I probably bring on myself. I love hot tea. I love hot tea. So it's really about keeping cool. When you are cool, of course, your temperature tends to go down. But when it's hot outside, or when you're drinking something hot, that's when you will begin the hot flashes. So you got to watch what you eat and drink. Hot and spicy food, which I like both. Caffeinated beverages, I really don't deal with caffeine, but alcohol can contribute to hot flashes. I'm not really a drinker. Are you?
Not really, no. When I do go out, I'm usually the driver, so I won't drink anyway.
Yeah, I'm usually the driver too.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also really relaxing and not smoking. Do you smoke? Do you do any of those things?
I don't smoke, no.
Okay. Yeah, neither do I. And then also, it's so interesting. It says to combat the hot flashes, you should lose weight. But then the weight is on.
The weight is one of the symptoms. Yeah, catch 22.
Right. So what do you do for exercise? I know you talked about a little bit about it earlier, but how is that affecting you emotionally, the weight gain? What's that doing?
With the weight gain, I tend to go to the gym. Once the children are out of the house and at school, I'll go and spend an hour, maybe an hour and a half in the gym, and then I'll come home and do what I have to do. But I'm trying to control my weight through food more than the gym, because I can't always make it there. And so it's basically finding foods that are filling, that are not going to pile the weight on. And it's a lot of it is trial and error, because when you start researching and look at the food list, half of it I don't eat anyway. So that creates a bit of a problem. But I've learned to like certain foods. One of the foods that I eat that is quite filling, and it doesn't seem to affect my weight, is lentils and chickpeas. But that's me. I don't know what that's like with anybody else. But there's only so much you can eat. You can't have lentils and chickpeas every single day. Well, I can't. I get bored.
Have you ever made chicken salad from chickpeas?
No.
Oh, I have to give you that recipe, darling. So you can make chickpeas. Have you ever had chicken salad?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can make chickpeas like it's chicken salad. And I tell you, it tastes just like chicken salad. It was somebody gave me the recipe, I think last year. It will blow your mind. But right, you get tired of eating the same type of food, but it's certain foods that keep you in check with your weight, and there's certain foods that keep you in check with the hot flashes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, at this time of year, it's quite easy because I do really like salads, but they're not very filling. So I can graze on salad just about all day. The other thing that I've started doing just recently, just before the lockdown actually, is the intermittent fasting. So I now fast. I fast. I'm on 16/8. I fast for 16 hours. And it's really strange because I'm fasting, I'm more careful about what I eat. So it's like, it's my eating window now. What shall I eat? Oh, I fancy some chocolate. No, I'm not going to eat chocolate. That defeats the object. So, but if I really crave something, I'll have it. I give in to my cravings immediately, because I've found with me personally, if I don't give in to a craving, it will stay there
Mm,
until I binge, and that's not good. So if I fancy a biscuit, I'll have a biscuit now, because if I say to myself, no, don't eat biscuits, they'll make you put weight on, and I fight the urge and I don't, then I'll eat half a packet or a whole packet throughout the day,
yeah.
instead of having just the one that I wanted at that particular moment in time. So I've learned a bit about myself and how I eat. But the intermittent fasting, coupled with exercise, is what is helping me now. But the gyms are closed at the moment, and I'm not very motivated at home. So I bought a skipping rope, and I skip and my son laughs.
But they say, and and it's so funny. I love um, just your whole accent, and I love you said skipping rope, because here in America we call them a jump rope.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's so funny, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but they say jumping 10 minutes a day is equivalent to 30 minutes of a jog.
wow. I might go out after this call.
We could do that on this platform. One
Yeah,
day we can jump rope.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do actually like skipping, so that's something that I will keep up even when the gym does reopen. I don't particularly enjoy the gym, to be honest. I go because
Me
I try
too.
to keep my weight in check. I make sure I always have my phone. I make sure it's fully charged. I make sure I have my headphones, and I don't often use free weights. I tend to use the machines. So I'll just hop onto a piece of machinery, switch on something on Netflix, and I'll just watch. Because I'm distracted and occupied by Netflix, next thing you know, I've done half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour on one piece of equipment. Whereas if I didn't have that to look at, I probably would get off it after maybe 5 or 10 minutes because I'm bored.
Yeah.
So
Then yeah,
that's
you.
really helpful.
Yeah, but at least I commend you for doing something about your weight, because even as a life coach, when I talk to clients and they're trying to stop something, and sometimes it is weight,
Mm.
people, and just by nature, tend to complain about the situation. So the first thing that I ask is, okay, so what are you doing about that? You know, if you don't like this, what are you doing to change, or what are you willing to do to 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 change that issue and move towards something that you enjoy or that you like? Or, do you have an ideal body, or you just want to be healthy and you just want to drop a few pounds? How much do you want to lose?
I don't actually have a number. It's just certain clothes are a bit too tight. When they fit properly, that's when my weight is right. So it's not really about the scales for me. It's about being able to sit down in a pair of jeans and it's not cutting off my circulation.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's more about being comfortable in my clothes than being a particular number on the scales. I do
I get
weigh myself just to kind of keep an eye on where my weight is going, whether it's going up or down. But I don't weigh myself saying I want to weigh this much.
I think that that's
And
very healthy, a healthy way to think as well.
yeah, and plus, once I get into bed at night, if I lie on my back and I start slightly wheezing, I'm still too heavy.
Mm.
Yeah,
So, and I think that's important. What you're saying is really to regulate yourself, and to really keep an eye on yourself, and knowing what you want and what you don't want, and recognize the signs. Like you said, if you're wheezing on your back, then you know that it's too much and you need to do
yeah,
something about it. And if you don't like the way you feel, I think that that's a very important message to get to the viewers. It's not about a number, folks. It's
mm,
about how you feel about yourself, and how you feel in your clothes, and the changes that you would like to make, the transformation
absolutely.
really that you would like to
Yeah,
make. Yeah.
because as you get older, you tend to gain weight anyway. So that number will be different at different times of your life. So if you're thinking of one particular number, you're going to be disappointed at some points, because the weight gain will come whether you want it or not. And the best we can do is keep it in check by doing something about it. So if I wanted to be, let me pull a figure out there, say 140 pounds, that would be ridiculous for my height and build at this age.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people are now having not a realistic view of weight, because with social media and entertainment, people are thinner than they probably want to be because of the industry, and the industry telling them that they have to be this certain size. So I agree with you. I don't like the size thing or getting on a scale, because you don't want anybody to feel depressed, literally, or to feel bad about themselves and suffer from low self-esteem because they don't look like what they see on social media. And typically what they see on social media, back in the day, remember, it used to be magazines. Now the devil is social media. And some people, I mean, I talk to young people all the time, young women in their 20s and 30s, and sometimes even beyond. And some of them cannot be on social media, and they have to purge themselves for a moment, because they find themselves comparing themselves to what they see. And it's very unhealthy mentally and emotionally.
It is. And it's more, with social media, it's more instant. You know, as soon as you open your phone, you can see all these thin model-like women parading themselves on social media. And then people are looking at that thinking that's the norm. That's not the norm, that's them. The goal is actually healthy, not skinny.
Right. There you go. Because there are a lot of skinny people that can be unhealthy. And I think people get that twisted. People look at someone that might be slightly overweight and say they're unhealthy, and then look at a thin person and say that they're healthy. But thin people struggle too, and pass away and have health issues. And they're not even, like I said, they're thin. So I want to talk about, as we talk about menopause, for night sweats. If you're suffering night sweats out there and you're going through, people used to say the change, and instead of menopause, they say, I'm going through the change of life. So if you are going through the change of life, tips to stay cool and combat night sweats. Stay cool, wear light clothing, dress in layers so you can remove them when you have your hot flashes. That's a trick that I've learned. Keep a fan beside your bed. I didn't need this list. I already told you I got the fan. Keep the room temperature low. So that's difficult. I have a compromise in the house, because of course I'm not the only one here. Take a cool shower during the day and before bed. Definitely run cool water over your wrist. I've never heard that before. Have you heard that?
I've heard that one. Yeah, I've never done it, but I've heard it.
Okay. Keep a healthy weight, as we're talking about, and relax and reduce stress. Now, I talk about stress all the time in every situation, and that comes up across the board, no matter what you're dealing with. It's really about stress reduction. Do you find that when you're more stressed that your symptoms are really polarized? Or do you even get stressed?
Excuse me. I try not to get stressed. I tend to stress over things that the children have done, or my parents. I have elderly parents and they're a bit naughty. So sometimes I get stressed with mum and dad, but generally, no. I try not to let things get to me.
Yeah, I think that's good. And plus, once you reach a certain age, it's difficult to do that. To get that. Would you agree?
Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
I always have a bottle of water at the bedside as well.
Yeah, and I think that helps. What would you tell a woman that may be going through it emotionally, and she's trying to deal with the fact that she is getting older, that she has reached her 50s and her body is changing, her hair is changing, her moods are changing. What type of encouragement would you give that woman?
I would just say basically, don't fight it, roll with it. You have to embrace it. It's part of you and it's not going to go away just because you don't like it.
Wow, that's powerful. And that can go across the board also. It's not going to go away just because you don't like it. We're talking to Nancy Wilson here. So with a name like Nancy Wilson, doggone it, you better listen. But that's absolutely right. If you can't change it, it is what it is, and you have to learn to live with it, and you have to learn to live with it in a healthy way. Why weren't
like my sister, for example, the big coat with hardly any clothes on underneath. So when she gets to her destination, the coat comes off and she cools down. She's rolling with it.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do. You got to roll with it. It's a part of life. You can either be going through menopause or you could be 6 feet under. Which one you want to do? You know, I'll take the
I'll keep the menopause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel old, going through this. I don't. It's just a part of life. It's a part of my journey, and I want people to really own that and own that there is womanhood in this. Would you agree? How does this define you as a woman?
It's that experience part of the feminine journey, I think, because it will come to us all regardless. So I think I'm coming towards the end of it, hopefully. Having been there and done that, I can turn around and say to somebody else, so it may not be great, but it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
It's very similar to childbirth. Childbirth hurts, but it doesn't hurt once the baby's born. You just have to go through it until you get to the result that you require.
Boom. And as a certified meditation practitioner, I really find meditation to be ideal because it gets you centered and it allows you to be still. Exercise is a great way to combat menopause, as Nancy was talking about earlier. And I believe something like this and social support and talking about it and not allowing this subject to be taboo. And even the men could be on this conversation and join this conversation when we talk about menopause, because 9 times out of 10, a man has a woman in their lives. And I think it's important for men to do their research and to understand what the women around them are going through. Would you agree?
Absolutely. A conversation is necessary with a male, particularly if you have a male in your life. I have sons. They will know about it because they will have a girlfriend, a wife in the future. So they need to understand that she's not going to be this pretty slim thing forever. She's going to change. Her body's going to go through the change. It may come with weight gain, with major weight gain for some women. It may not. But if you actually fall in love with the person rather than what the person looks like, then it'll be an easier journey to go through it with her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last question that I want to ask you, and that was well said, and it's important for the men to understand that because a man's body doesn't stay the same. The things that they're going through emotionally, physically, sometimes even spiritually, it's not going to be the same. As people, we go up and down and we transform, and hopefully we come out better, for everything that we've been through, and it's a part of our journey. So I appreciate you even talking to your sons about that, and I think it's important to do so. The last question I want to ask you is about memory loss. And that is one of the symptoms. You're like, oh my God, I hope, please God, don't give me dementia. Or, what's the other one? Oh my God, I just got it. Look, I just got memory loss in the middle. I got a brain freeze.
Yeah.
Oh,
the memory loss is frustrating. As you know, it starts at pregnancy and it just doesn't seem to go away, does it? I have an app on my phone. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called MindPal. which is brain training. So I do some kind of brain training exercise every day. I do meditate as well. And during this quarantine time, I've actually taken up yoga. So
Mm.
I'm doing lots of things for mind, body, and soul now. And I've wanted to do them for a while, but I didn't make the time. I had the time, I didn't make the time. But now, because the whole nation's in lockdown, I have no excuse. So I've learned to meditate and I've just started yoga.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And what I was talking about, of course, is Alzheimer's and dementia. So don't automatically think that something is wrong. Memory loss is a part of it. And I totally agree with you, Nancy, to really start strengthening your mind, do words with friends, puzzles, do things
Mm,
that stimulate your brain, to keep your brain active. I
yeah.
think it's great that you started yoga. Meditation is so important. Meditation, and I'll do a show one day about meditation, and I offer free Zoom meditation classes. But meditation is so important for so many things. And a lot of times with a lot of different things, we get ourselves up in a roar.
Mm,
We're freaking out over small things. A lot of people are. So just even trying something different, just reinventing yourself and changing with what's changing with you. Implement things in your life like Nancy was talking about, a way of eating different types of food, eliminate some of the foods, doing weight training. If you can't go to the gym right now, you can have that quote unquote gym in your house. If you're not, fortunate enough to have a full gym, I have 2 dumbbells, 5 pounds each. I have a kettlebell. I have a band, a resistance band, and I have a
mm.
skipping rope.
Hey,
So
you can fill bottles with water to use as weights. You don't have to actually have physical weights.
absolutely. So use what you have at home. I thank you so very much, Nancy, for taking the time, in the UK. I'm so excited. You are my furthest guest. That's the most beautifulest thing about doing this is that I can reach and connect with people that are not in my immediate area. Because when I do my talk show, typically I have people that travel close to my area, the different states surrounding my area, but I never get a chance visually. I can't look. I guess maybe my tongue is not working because of menopause. I don't know. I'll research that part later. But I never get a chance to really connect with other people outside of social media from near and far. So I thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. This is a very important conversation. This is near and dear to my heart. And hopefully this conversation about menopause is just the beginning, and other women start to converse about menopause and what's going on with their bodies, so women know that they're not alone. So I'm going to give you the last word. Tell some woman out there about menopause in one sentence, and and tell them, what do I want to say? Just assure them that they're not alone.
You are most definitely not alone. Menopause will get you. Embrace it. Don't fight it. Just roll with it.
And that's it. That's all. Nancy Wilson said, just roll with it. And that's what we're going to do. We're not going to allow this to claim our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. We are going to learn to work with it, because this is just a part of the journey. Nancy, I thank you so much for joining me and really taking the time here on Kendell Live, my YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Kendell, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
You're so welcome. And I'm just getting so excited about this conversation, because I'm like, yes, we can have this conversation. I didn't want it to be about me, but I wanted to really join this conversation just to show an example of what women should do and what women should talk about, especially if they're going through it. That one woman shouldn't be tight-lipped about her journey as someone else expresses their thoughts and their feelings about what they're going through. So once again, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Kendell Lenice Live. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. God bless. Until next time, peace.